Yeah.
Trying to get a PowerPoint. The thing that he's going to do, and you're going to get a dozen kids.
John has been I am here. That's okay. It's not a problem. All I know is
Yes, I have. Yeah. These aren't reserved, are they?
No. Go ahead. Howdy. Welcome to Texas A&M Endeavr Tech Summit 2019. My name is Wei Li. I'm Associate Professor of Urban Planning, and I am the Principal Investigator of the Endeavr project. Well, that means I'm ultimately responsible for today's salads and sandwiches. Today's event is co-hosted by the College of Architecture and the College of Engineering at Texas A&M University. We have over 100 people in this room and in the online conference space. We are visionaries from the industry. We are university educators. We are leaders from the community. We are here because we care and we are passionate about smart cities. We are passionate about training students to become leaders of our smart cities. So today's event is a celebration of education. Endeavr project is about education for smart cities. It is funded by WM Keck Foundation and Texas A&M University. We have been receiving very strong support from the university. We have Dr. Mark Bartle here today. Dr. Bartle is Vice President for Research of Texas A&M University. He is a highly regarded scientist, researcher, inventor, and academic leader. He has very strongly supported this project. Now it's my great honor and a privilege to welcome Dr. Bartle on the stage.
Howdy. As we're in a room this size, I probably don't need amplification. So I'd like to welcome you on behalf of Texas A&M University to the Endeavr Tech Summit, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. And I really appreciate your remarks, Wei, because we really are committed to supporting this very important project. Like the Keck Foundation, I think we understand that global civilization is moving quickly, and it's going to be a challenge to respond. You know, there are a couple of numbers that stick in mind. By mid-century, it's anticipated that 75% of the world's population will live in cities. And if one sort of projects the current population of the planet, that's essentially equivalent to saying that by mid-century, everyone, or an equal number of people who now occupy the planet in its entirety, will be living in cities. If that's going to be at all sustainable or close to it, I think we can say three things for certain. One, it probably will not involve a pickup truck per capita, as at least to this newcomer appears to be embedded in the Texas Constitution. Second, it's going to require societal change, and third, it's going to require technology. And I think the technologies of smart cities, of smart transportation, are going to be critical. As an engineer, I'm well aware that technology is not the panacea, and we really need the engagement of human beings and a two-way dialogue, and especially the ability of our leaders to think critically and creatively about how we will utilize these technologies. And that's in part what Endeavr is about. It's part of a larger research enterprise here at Texas A&M University that generates about over $900 million per year in research expenditures. One of the things that I found since coming to Texas A&M a little over a year ago is really the commitment to working closely with business and industry to help bring our innovations to the marketplace. And I think you're going to see this afternoon when you tour the Rellis campus just how committed, and really you'll see an embodiment of that commitment, where we're really building a collaborative ecosystem that fosters advanced research and technology and education, and helps us to nurture partnerships with industry and government and other institutions of higher learning. So I hope you will take this opportunity to sample some, if not all, of what Texas A&M has to offer. I will say, for those of us who are here year-round, that the monastic silence that's descended upon the campus since graduation this weekend is almost eerie. So if you show up most other times of the year, your experience will be quite a bit different. But this is a good chance to see a lot of what we have without having to run the gauntlet of students running between classes. So once again, thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to learning more about the results of the summit.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bardo, for the wonderful remarks. We have Dr. Jorge Venegas here today. Dr. Venegas is the Dean of a College of Architecture. During the past 7 years, I have received a lot of great advice and inspiration from Dr. Venegas for my research and teaching. I remember 2 years ago when I first talked about this idea of Endeavr project, he asked me, what is your goal for this project? And I said, I hope. And he said, wait. So you cannot say, I hope. You should be more confident. You should say, I anticipate, I expect. And I learned that, and I remember that very firmly. So if I don't sound confident today, it's his fault. Thank you very much, Dr. Venegas.
Thank you. Howdy. He had given me 10 minutes that just became 3, so I will be very fast. It is a pleasure to be talking about this project, not only because it's in great hands of the people that are involved as researchers and scholars, but because it really represents my passion for crossing the boundaries of individual disciplines and tackling problems of real global critical need today. We live in a world in which reality is one planet, one life, one race, and one future, and that future is up to whatever we want it to do. Unfortunately, not always is it a clear path towards the betterment of humanity. We have mysteries, wicked problems, harsh realities, global challenges, all kinds of things. And the bottom line is that there is not one single person, not one single discipline, not one single organization, public or private, or even one single nation that can tackle any of these problems on their own anymore. But the reality is that we all can if they work together. And I'm a total champion of the pluridisciplinary approach to how we address questions that need to be answered through research, or problems that need to be solved through disciplinary prowess, or needs that need to be satisfied, or aspirations that need to be fulfilled, or opportunities that need to be realized. And that's what Texas A&M represents. It's an ecosystem of collaboration that is actually unparalleled from my perspective, not only in the US, but also in other countries. So I commend this team for doing this. I think that the whole idea of building on the statistic that 75% will be living in cities, the question is, what kind of cities are we going to be living in? And this whole idea that STEM will save the world, you have to add the A. And I'm glad that this project adds the A for the arts, for the architecture, for the humanities, for the part that actually brings the human race. So I'm going to leave you with another image that is the following. We started with STEM many years ago and lots of investments in that area. we in our college have been fighting very strong to add that A, to make it STEAM, and you can make all kinds of analogies on STEAM. But I'm going to leave you with the image of what happens if you put the S at the end of STEAM. What do you get? Teams. And that's what this is all about. This is a project about teams that address our academic mission of learning and teaching, research, creative work, and scholarship, and engagement with practice through outreach and service. So we're in great hands, and you gave me 3 minutes, and my 3 minutes are up. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Venegas. We also have Dr. N.K. Anand here today. Dr. Anand is Executive Associate Dean of College of Engineering. He is a Regents Professor of Mechanical Engineering. Now let's welcome Dr. Anand to give a few remarks on behalf of College of Engineering.
Thank you, Dr. Wei. Howdy. On behalf of the College of Engineering, it is my distinct pleasure to be here to kick off the exciting event along with my colleagues from the College of Architecture and several other university research and service units. Advancing education to better prepare students for future is a priority for me, and I'm pleased to be a part of the Endeavor project. Endeavor is a unique and innovative education model that is a win-win for our students and our partners. Bringing students together from various disciplines and providing them with opportunities to solve relevant problems takes their education to a higher level. It helps them take the principles that they learn in class and apply them to real-world scenarios. Experiences like this spark creativity and innovation and have true impact on their learning. I have no doubt our community and industry partners will be impressed by our students and benefit from their ideas and solutions. I understand that Dr. Barto said that we have a monastic silence now, but I'm sure you will find enough of Texas A&M to sample and see during this lean time. We are also excited for you to visit our Release campus, see our state-of-the-art Center for Infrastructure Renewal, that is CIR, and visit with our students and take a ride in an autonomous vehicle. Smart cities are our future. We hope that through your attendance here today, you're inspired, and if you are not already, join us as a partner. Thank you for being here today and helping us advance education while benefiting our communities. Enjoy the day again. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much again for the wonderful remarks. Now, you might wonder, what does Endeavor stand for? Well, we're talking about technology, but now we first try to solve this technology problem. Okay. The clicking is not working. Okay, now it's good. So we are problem solvers. Endeavor stands for Envisioning New Traditional Development by Embracing Autonomous Vehicles Realm. If you cannot remember what I said, it's okay. It is a very long and complex acronym. So long, so complex that I spell it wrong all the time. But the idea behind Endeavor project is very, very simple. We're designing a plug-and-play style curriculum model to connect the students from various disciplines to bring them together so that they can form interdisciplinary teams and solve communities' problems. It's about making connections. Students from Endeavor projects, they're from disciplines of computer science, civil engineering, urban planning, landscape architecture, and visualization and beyond. They will get together. They will translate the technologies from the industry into powerful solutions to the community. And so the key word is interdisciplinary learning. I got inspiration for Endeavor project throughout my teaching and research in transportation planning. I do research and teach in transportation planning. That's how I make a living. Throughout my work in there, my colleagues always remind me that I do transportation. My first name is Wei. They always greet me like, "Hi, Wei, how are you doing?" So I know that what I do. So this is a wonderful picture of our cities in the 19th century. Horses were used as the predominant mode of transportation to bring people and goods around the city. Horses are wonderful, they're lovely, but there is one deadly problem associated with horses. And by the end of the 19th century, many cities across the world are drowning in horse manure. It sounds silly, but it is true. In 1898, the first urban planning conference was held in New York City. Delegates from around the world, after a long, exhaustive journey, they arrived in New York City. They were planning to envision the future of cities. But after there's some discussions, well, they saw no future. What they saw was 10 feet of horse manure in major streets of all major cities. The conference was scheduled for 10 days, but it was ended after 3 days. Delegates hug each other, have a last beer, they went home. What was their problem? These urban planning pioneers only saw horses as the only technology for transportation. So they have a tunnel vision, linear thinking. When you only know horses as a way of transportation, your solution would be to find stronger horses, bigger horses, which run faster, eat less oats, and have less bowel movement. And we know it is not going to help. The tunnel vision is a problem if you are only exposed to one knowledge silo and without knowing what's going on outside. Then what happened? We have motorized vehicles, and that supported our prosperity of cities for the next 100 years. But we are still stuck into that linear thinking habit, still stuck in that one silo thinking. Throughout 20th century, our solution for transportation problems is to build more roads. If you have congestion, build more roads, right? That is not smart. That is not smart. What is smart is to think outside the box. Think about, do we need to own cars? Can we use existing technologies to share the ownership of cars? Can cars drive themselves? Can we share the demand of mobility, right? That is the 21st century solution, what we call the smart solution, the smart city solution. Translate technologies into powerful solutions. During the past 2 years, our team has been working hard to see how we can help to build smart cities. How can we provide training to future leaders of smart cities? And we know that the global market for smart cities is growing exponentially. Automation, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and those technologies have powerful potential to be translated into solutions. But there is one problem. There is a gap. And the gap is that we don't have enough people who can act as the bridge persons between those technologies and the community's needs. We need these people who are passionate about using technology to solve communities' problems. And that is our strong motivation for the Endeavr project. In the past 2 years, we've been organizing several events. We've been building our team to see how we can come up with innovative curriculum to train students for smart cities. Throughout our endeavors, we realized that actually many communities are very anxious when we talk about smart cities. Everybody is talking about it. Nobody knows how to do it. Everybody thinks everybody else is doing it. So sometimes they claim they are doing it. When I talk about this problem with my students, one of my students said, "Hey, Dr. Lee, that sounds a lot like teenagers talking about sex." So we want to end that anxiety. We want to bridge that. We want to fill the gap. And we have our Endeavr model. The Endeavr model, as I said, aims to develop a plug-and-play style curriculum model. That model includes trainings about the basic theories and knowledge about smart cities, training to students about how to build teams, how to enhance their interdisciplinary competencies. And with those trainings, students will enhance their critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills. And we also focus on the impact to the communities. We focus on making connections among students from different disciplines, connections between the community, the industry, through students' projects. And we choose to focus on small and medium-sized communities because most Americans live in those communities, but they are overlooked, unfortunately, by the tech industry to a large extent. We want to help the communities who are under-resourced. We want to help the populations who are underserved. Texas A&M is a land-grant university. It's in our blood and soul to help those people and help those communities. And we're very proud of that. We have a wonderful team. We have a wonderful team. The faculty leaders of Endeavr project include myself from urban planning, Dr. Anna Tobolgin from visualization, Dr. Theodora Chesperi from computer science, Dr. Chanam Lee from landscape architecture, and Dr. Aliriza Talapur from civil engineering. I must say, I work very well with them, because I don't know much about technology. So I don't have to argue with them about technical problems. I listen and I follow their suggestions. That's how we work together. We work very wonderfully together. So now I'm going to introduce about how a student will receive Endeavr training. There are two simple steps. The first step of training is to take an interdisciplinary seminar course in smart and connected communities. And that course is offered in this fall semester. Students who take the course in person or online will be able to identify examples that about how technologies have impacted the evolution of cities. They will be able to explain the background, methods, societal relevance of various disciplines for smart and connected communities. They will be able to define interdisciplinary knowledge, research, education, and theory, and very importantly, they will develop metacognition, brainstorming, team working skills for interdisciplinary collaboration. The metacognition is a very powerful tool that I learned. I have to give credit to my colleague from the Center for Teaching Excellence. So I learned that in order for interdisciplinary teams to work together, every member have to think out of the box. You have to be aware of your own thinking process, and you should know the thinking process of other disciplines. Then you will be able to make the connections and figure out how these disciplines can work together for problem solving. And we help students to build teams because this is only the first step. The students will stick together for at least 2 semesters for their training. They have to work well with each other. I ask many times to students, how can I help you to build a team, and how can I help you to enhance your bonding? And the students say, probably, if you can, give some money so that I can eat together or have some drinks together, so we'll be fine. And I appreciate that because we are human beings. We need bondings, and get together, do things are very, very important. So our team decides to support students on these team building activities. Students would choose to, boat in the Bryan Lake. Go ahead and do it. Student would choose to go to visit a state park in Huntsville. Go ahead and do it. Some students are more adventurous. They want to go to Big Bend National Park to do some hiking. Well, go ahead and do it and be safe. So we will help the students to build their teams. We help the students to enhance their bondings, right? So we want to make sure that they get along well with each other so that they can work together and function more effectively. This is the first step. The second step of Endeavr training is to approve the course based on their own disciplines. Those courses are project-based courses, existing courses offered by Texas A&M University. Right? Students will take these courses for their graduation anyway, but what we do is to add our plug-and-play device into these courses and make them an Endeavr course. And how do we do that magic? Basically, we, as we said from the beginning, we tell the students to build interdisciplinary teams. For example, there could be one interdisciplinary team, a member of 5 to 10 people, right? And they come from disciplines of computer science, civil engineering, urban planning, visualization, right? And landscape architecture. So these students, while they are taking this project-based course, they are helping the same community client. Their solutions are synergized together to solve a community's challenge. By the end of their project-based course, In addition to the learning outcomes of their own discipline, will help the students to critically analyze problem confronting the community client and break it down into courses. They will apply the metacognition, the team building, brainstorming skills to effectively collaborate with team members from other disciplines. They will think reflectively to evaluate diverse ideas. They will creatively construct solutions that involve knowledge, facts, and techniques and rules for multiple disciplines, and they will learn to enhance their communication skills. This is a flowchart that is essential of the device that we provide to students. In order to make a course, an Endeavr course, we provide the project guidelines, which have specific requirement on students' activities and deliverables. We divide the project into 5 stages. In each stage, there is specific requirement for activities and what they have to deliver. Imagine these teams are like a startup company or a consulting company, right? They have their client, right? We tell them for each step, what do they do? First step is to gather data and do literary review to understand the nature of the problem. They will consult with the industry advisor, and they will meet with the community client to understand the nature of the problem. And then they will develop goals and objectives for their solutions. And they will also make sure that their projects from their own disciplines are integrated to meet those goals and objectives. Moving on to the next stage, they will conduct analysis and come up with alternatives, right? Alternative prototypes, alternative plans or designs. They will have discussions to see how their solutions, how their analysis and solutions complement each other. And they will give a report, midterm report to their community client, gather feedback. They will meet with their industry advisors and gather feedback. And they will be able to evaluate their alternatives and come up with the final combination of alternatives or solutions. Then is the final stage. They will finish a master report that summarizes their deliverables and their work during the previous 4 stages. They will give the final presentation to their community client, and the industry advisors will involve in their work as well. And I mentioned industry advisors many times because the industry advisor and partners played a very, very important role. Not only you provide advice to students, but also the products or services could be a prototype, could be a developed product from the industry. You can make them available to students and make your product and services as part of the student solutions for the community. And we value community engagement. We ask a student to interact with their community client several times throughout this project. So the involvement of industry, involvement of community engagement are very important part of our plug and play curriculum. Well, I made this animation myself by consulting with a visualization member. So basically, how do I plug and play, right? Right, this is how we do it. We have this device, we plug it into a course, and we make this course Endeavr course. And I make it very simple because that's how I communicate with my son. He's 10 years old. He said, Dad, what do you do as Endeavr? I say, we have a plug and play curriculum. He said, does it mean that you plug into a course, it will become your Endeavr course? That's pretty much so. So basically, again, it makes connections. It makes connections among students from different disciplines and make connections between the industry and the community through students' projects. We are very fortunate to have a Texas Target Communities, which is a program Texas A&M for more than 20 years. We have Dr. John Cooper and Professor Jamie Masterson to help us to develop this curriculum model by adding the component of community engagement. Professor Jamie Masterson will be the person to lead and facilitate the workshop and the breakout group discussions later today. We're also very fortunate to have a team from Education Research Center, Dr. Hirsch Wexman and Dr. Jackie Stelisano. They will help us to evaluate the impact of the project? Can we actually really enhance students' creative thinking and creative problem-solving skills? What are the impact that we generate to the community? So our evaluation team will tell us, and they will help us to improve our model. So to summarize the Endeavr project, it is a plug-and-play style curriculum model that make connections among students from different disciplines and make connections between the industry and the community through students' projects, right? The connection is a key term, and interdisciplinary learning is another key term for Endeavr project. I'm confident now, thanks to Dr. Van Egge's encouragement and the thinking habit, as I anticipate, right, let me see. I anticipate that next year we'll make Nolanville, Texas, our smart city through our students' projects. And then the year beyond, we'll anticipate to work with Nolanville and other communities to build more smart cities. So this is about education. It is celebration of education. We help students to become future leaders of smart cities, and we are confident that we can create smart cities one after another. And now it is my great honor and privilege to welcome Ms. Kara Ascahala from Nolanville, Texas. Kara is the city manager of Nolanville. During the past several years, we've been working together to develop the model, and we are very, very fortunate to have Kara here, and she will introduce Nolanville's Smart Town Vision, and we'll also introduce the relevant projects that we have done together. Welcome, Kara.
Hi, just kidding, howdy. I looked it up, like, howdy is good. Started. As you said, I'm Kara Escajeda. I'm the city manager for Nolanville, Texas. I've been there for 4 years now. And my experience with Nolanville started with Dr. Jamie Masterson and Texas Target Communities. And fortunately, they were involved with the city when I came on and have helped the city really grow and succeed in a smart manner. And I believe after we're done with this program, Nolanville will be known as a smart city. So the first thing you're probably wondering is, where is Nolanville? We are a very small community, 5,000 in Central Texas. It's near Fort Hood, which is about 10 minutes from the front gate to the city of Nolanville, and we're between Dallas and Austin. The form of government is city manager council. We have there's 4 members on the council that are prior military, so that kind of gives you a sense of the influence of the military on the city. The mayor is the first picture. He's a Texas A&M grad, and he's currently working for the city of Gatesville as a planner, which is also a very small town near Fort Hood. The vision and mission was Texas Target Cities helped us develop that. These are some of the goals that came from the comprehensive plan. The plan has more than paid for itself time and time again. We've been the recipients of 3 transportation grants, 2 parks grants, and 1 CDBG. And we have 2 others in the pipeline. And that was enlarged by them providing us a vision and a plan. And I think Endeavr is going to do that for us in the manner that Dr. Wei was explaining. Recently, we became involved with Dr. Chanam Lee and her students because this last grant that we had, we wanted to plan this complete street project smartly and with the future in mind. And so we asked her students to get involved with the concept. And I know she's going to go into more detail with that, but it was just an amazing experience and provided so much insight on infrastructure that we may have not considered otherwise. These are some of the strategies from our comprehensive plan that the council is focusing on this year. And the reason I have it up here is I wanted to just draw your attention to how many opportunities there are for smart solutions. Primarily the street lights. You know, there's so many different options that we're hearing about for street lights, but what really makes sense? You don't want to go to the trouble of paying for those and then finding out the batteries are too expensive, or that maybe they don't perform the functions that you need. There's other ones pertaining to like monitoring traffic and railroad activity. So you can see there's the Smart City Initiative was recently added onto the strategies after our experience with Dr. Lee. And when I was looking at it, it really probably is best paired with economic development, and I'll explain why. But before I do, these are the top 5 reasons why Nolanville is the perfect place for this experiment, or research more. We're 10 minutes from Fort Hood, so that's going to leave a lot of, Fort Hood's like the major employer for the state of Texas, and we're 10 minutes from there. We have the opportunity for multiple transportation assets, rail, air, you name it. The interstate is expanding to 6 lanes to and from. We have quality of life opportunities. We're a start point for a lot of endurance training with biking and running. And from the military, we have a lot of skilled workforce that leaves, and they want to stay in Nolanville because of the cost of living is so inexpensive, and it's nearby a lot of those attractions. So you can have the benefit of being close to Austin, but you don't have to live there. And this is our economic development team. That's just a few of the initiatives that we've been working on. But these are some of the challenges that come with being in a small city and managing a small city. The first is collaboration. And we don't have an engineer on staff, a lawyer on staff, a city planner. Those are all contracted. They don't necessarily live in the city. They might not have the same passion that you have for it. They try to do the best they can, but they're hired to help you. And so they don't have like day-to-day knowledge of what's going on in the city. So something that would help collaboration with those subject matter experts would be important. Communication with the community is also a challenge. You don't have your own newspaper and way to get the word out when there's a special event, or if the road is closed on a certain location. I spoke about the infrastructure. There's lots of infrastructure opportunities that could be enhanced by just having knowledge of their cost benefit. The transportation situation, we're in the middle of a metropolitan planning organization known as Clean Temple Metropolitan Planning Organization. So that's pretty good, but it doesn't mean that you have transit. And so we're fortunate enough to have 2 stops, but they're on the access road, so they're very hard for people with disabilities to actually access and use. And that's further compounded by a recent reduction in how people can get service from the hop. So if you don't live within a 1-mile radius, they no longer service you. It used to be 3 miles, and they cut it down to 1. And then alert notifications. These kind of things would be useful for like when the railroad is crossing the tracks. We have a little bit of mobility issue when that happens, and it happens several times throughout the day. So if the community was aware and emergency services were aware that those intersections were blocked, it would be very helpful. Also, we have a high occurrence of flooding, which was just came to light again just this last month. We had quite a bit of it. And there are sensors on the creek, but they don't necessarily tell you what that means or trigger any kind of sequence of events once they are, the creek gets at a certain level. So some enhancement out of those sensors are coming. We are part of a floodplain study, and we're hoping to improve that, but that might be an opportunity for some technology industries to be involved. And so what do we want? Ultimately, we anticipate we'll be the smart city, like you said. And we want to be able to know the cost and benefits of some of these technologies that would come aboard. We want to be able to communicate to our citizens and professional services, and we want to make partnerships with the technologies that are here for long term. And I'm sure over time you'll see that Nolanville was the perfect choice for this research. One last thing, there's a thought that, a lot of people are like, why don't you get a Dell? Why don't you get an Amazon or try for Amazon? That's not going to happen for small cities. So I thought that this quote really hit it home. we're not looking for that necessarily. We're looking for technology to help with the tools that are going to enhance the industries that we do have, and these are the industries that we currently have on board. As you see, there's moving, there's lumber, construction, rail, and we just want to be able to do the best job we can for them and make them successful through technology. And that will do it for me. Next is Dr. Chanam Lee.
Hi, I'm a professor from the Landscape Architecture and Urban Planning Department. I had the pleasure of doing a pre-Endeavr studio this last semester in collaboration with the City of Nolanville and Texas Target Communities. So it's a pre-Endeavr in a way that we had a very good partnership with the community, but we didn't have the industry partnership to make a true Endeavr class, and plus this was carried out as a more of a single disciplinary studio, although we brought expertise from other partners throughout the class. So I will be showing you what an example of a potential Endeavr class project might look like, as a glimpse of some of the potential exercises that can be carried out. So this is an example of a landscape architecture studio. So it would be very different if it's an engineering session class. But basically in traditional design studios, we have 3 or 4 different phases that are typically involved, starting with the research. When you have a project, we first look at what's being done. So for example, for the project in Nolanville, we wanted to look at street design. So we looked at concepts of smart and complete streets and learning from some case examples. Then we went into the design phase, which produced some different concepts, and students worked in teams to produce diverse ideas to share with the community members and the client teams. So these are the locations. The boundaries are sort of highlighted in a reddish color. We looked at 2 street segments that the city of Nolanville received the funding from Texas Department of Transportation to turn from a traditional streets to complete and smart streets. Those are highlighted in 2 green lines, number 1 and 2, and then other project sites throughout, numbered 1 through 8, that we wanted to explore different smart and complete community strategies throughout Nolanville to kind of explore different options and creative ideas for the city to explore in the future. So we start by visiting the sites, looking at the streets there that we are going to propose design solutions, meeting with the client, and throughout the process also inviting experts from different disciplines to guide us through the decision-making process. We do the role play to pick everybody's brain, to try to look at or think about perspectives from diverse stakeholder groups and community partners, and do a lot of studio reviews and critiques. And we do the class presentations, poster reviews, and also received feedback from the client review sessions, which were done both here on campus as well as in the city. So that is a visual snapshot of how the semester was carried out. And here are some poster images of the design work that my students have produced. And later on after the session, you will get to look at some of the displays in greater detail. So today I will just be showing you just quick brief snapshots of some examples. So for the street design part, students worked or developed diverse ideas. Some focus on child-friendly design, some focus on safety, some focus on smart ideas. This is one of the winning examples the city voted for. And using infographics like that, showing a clear before and after scenarios to help non-designers understand what we are proposing in terms of the street renovations. And then some of the renderings, these are digital media graphics to show how things will look like when complete and new and smart design concepts are implemented in the traditional street segments. And how the intersections can be done through smart lightings and also interventions like paintings and stripings and crossing aids to make sure that it's more people-friendly instead of car-friendly. These are another top selected design options, and then strategies also to allow for some meandering so that cars don't speed as much. And then in the second phase, with the expanding beyond the communities, we have looked at areas under the path, looking at some lighting systems where we can really improve a sense of arrival through smart lighting and then also gateway features. People prepared some of the logos that could really highlight the city's image and the symbol. And then looked at smart technologies that can be incorporated into a small-scale intervention like smart stops that can be combined with the public transit or school transportation stops, but then it can be a hub where you can charge your phones and have covers with solar panels, and then have digital displays, with the community events and notification boards, etc. Cool materials. And also, let me see, environmental sensors where pavers can generate energy. There are a lot of ideas that are explored throughout the process. And one team looked at Smart Nolanville as a bigger concept. They looked at transportation network, what's going to be like, what the city form will look like in the long, long future, where everything is autonomous in terms of the transportation system. And looked at even traffic calming with non-Newtonian speed bumps, smart speed lights, and also concepts around complete communities for smart homes, embracing smart homes and smart retails, and also using beacons to make the entire community really smart and connected at the same time. So these are some examples. We started to entertain some of these ideas, explore some broad range of ideas, and we are really excited about the next year where we will be fully embracing other domains of Endeavr concept. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that just gives you a taste of what some of the undergraduate students can do, and that was just one discipline. So we're excited to think about how we can do this in an interdisciplinary way over the next year and two years. I'm Jamie Masterson. I am the Associate Director of Texas Target Communities. Our program basically works with small to medium-sized communities, and we include their needs into the classroom as projects. So we've been doing this since 1993, and I've been in the program for 6 years now. I just want to let you know that the things that Nolanville has talked with us about and that we've explored with them are the same things that small and medium-sized cities are dealing with on a regular basis. So we're seeing communities that are really experiencing issues around growth and development pressures. So many of our Texas communities are growing, and they are under that pressure, and they don't always have the full capacity to deal with that pressure. They're also experience lots of different vulnerabilities, whether extreme weather like the flooding and other issues related to climate change, or even economic shocks and other issues around housing affordability. So these are the same kind of issues we see in our program again and again in small cities where we think smart technology can really be applied. And the best part about working with these small and medium-sized cities is that they are ready and willing. They know that the way that they have been doing things is not working, and they're ready to try new things. And they've really been, and especially Nolanville, when we were first talking about the Endeavr project, they said, the team was like, okay, we want to work with a community that's really ready to try this and to implement it. And so we reached out to our network, and Nolanville really floated to the top. They are agile. They have been able to go after grant opportunities to implement these things. And I think that's what a lot of small, medium-sized cities are able to do. They're quick, they're nimble, and they're able to take new ideas and push them through in different ways. So just to give you a little bit of background on what our community engagement program is about, and why we're kind of thinking that smart medium cities are an important group to target. Before we jump into, we're going to do a workshop session here in a second and get you up and talking and interacting. But before I go over the instructions, are there any clarifying questions before we get into that? Are there any things that you need us to clarify before we jump? Okay, I'm going to take that as you're tired of hearing us talk, and we will move on to the next stage. Okay, so in your folder, you should have a group assignment, okay? Your groups 1 through 8, and then everyone who's online and listening, you're going to be group 9, and you'll be working with me. What you're going to, we have different locations for these groups. You will each be given an Endeavr staff, university staff person to be a part of your group. You also, we have a couple of questions that we're going to want you to discuss, brainstorm, think through. Okay, but before we get to the questions, we want you to get in your groups. This will be a good opportunity, actually, before you get in your groups, maybe to use the restroom if you need to. Okay, get another drink of water or tea, and find your team. Okay, so we'll give you a couple minutes to shift and get to where you need to be. But once you get back into your groups, we want you to quickly introduce yourself. Okay, very briefly, because we have a lot of things we want to discuss, and it's only a 40-minute window that we have. And after you introduce yourselves, if you want to identify someone who's willing to take notes, we have flip chart paper and sticky notes that we can write down some of these ideas. But if someone's, if that's your thing, go ahead and please take the lead on that. And then if you're also willing to be the spokesperson for your group, we would love you to go ahead and identify a person for that. That person needs to be confident and ready to report back out to us when we come back here after the session. And so we have a couple different questions, but your room assignments should be located in the folder. Is that right? Okay, so you should be able to know where your group will be. The 3 questions that we have are, what types of smart city student projects can we imagine together? So in the room here today, we have industry partners, but we also have university folks, and we have other community folks. So together, we're going to brainstorm what types of projects can we imagine. The second question is, which small to medium-sized cities in our target area are most likely to invite us in and embrace smart city visions? So you might have a different perspective. You might hear from other small, medium-sized cities different things, and so we want to learn about that. And then lastly, what agreements, other partners, and resources are necessary for us to collaborate. Basically, what do you need from us? What do we need to bring to the table to make this happen? Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and break, and let's see, the time is 1:13. So if you could just please be in your room ready to go and have these discussions at 1:20. Once you're done with that, we're going to meet back here at 1:50. So you really only have 30 minutes to have these conversations. And for the online group, I will be with you in about 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone in here groups 1 through 3? No? Who's facilitating? Are you facilitating the
Three
group?
of us are going to be. Group 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
Great. All right. You guys have a preference on the side of the room you want to sit on? Anywhere? All right, cool. Come on right over here. Yeah, the UN style seating is not ideal for discussion, but we're going to make it work.
What's your name? Scott Blassick. Okay, okay. Oh, yeah, he. Yeah, let me give you my, card.
Yeah. Oops. Group 1, 2, and 3. Oh, I got a couple of people.
Yeah. Email me and then I'll send you this. Because I can't remember it all.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Well, no, I just want to.
We have the full 5 minutes here. I feel like some people might be.
Okay, this is your help. Okay, there's
Right
a lot
here.
of us.
Okay,
Three
so
of us are gonna-
I'm doing the online version. Okay. And okay, that's fine. Do you need assistance getting started?
Nope.
Yeah, I think
Just
we're
giving it the
getting
full 5
people
minutes. Some
we
people
offer.
might be in the bathroom.
A little bit left.
So G, I'm gonna need you to float around these groups.
Hi. There. Are you with group 1, 2, or 3?
I'm with 3.
Great.
Perfect. So I just want
Oh, is it
Anyone?
3 right
Yes,
here?
ma'am.
Okay.
There. Yep. Perfect. Let's see right here. That's pretty clever. Yes. That's great.
Okay, so howdy everyone. I think it's so my name is Raul Orozco. I'm on the Endeavr team.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't realize you were not doing the report. Yeah, absolutely. So what do I do? or?
Use of these options.
Same system.
Hello? Okay. No. Could you mute? All right, so it sounds like it's working. All right, great. Thanks for joining us. Sorry it took a little bit for me to get adjusted to the tech here. In the link at the very top of that chat window, if you all could click on it, I just want to get a sense of who is still participating on the call. We've got a couple questions there, and we'll look at it here in the next couple minutes as folks pop up with their responses. Oh, okay. To view the form, I think because it's through the A&M system, that's why. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, I'm not the one who's going to be in charge of the tech from now on. Okay. So let's not do that. I'm just going to ask folks on the call if you could just quickly introduce yourself. So if first we could get Jane, is that you? Okay, let's get the American Constructors, and we'll just go down the list from the top. How about that? So if you could unmute your line and just briefly introduce your name and who you're with.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. This is Brian McGrew.
Someone's unmuted.
Awesome. Okay, I can hear you, Brian.
It doesn't look like they can hear us.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well.
Hang on. We're getting the laptop figured out. Okay, maybe we can just use my laptop then. Okay. Okay. Great. Would you be now willing to please introduce yourselves? You don't have to keep it on me.
Okay. Hi, this is Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes. All right. Thank you. Appreciate your patience.
No problem. My introduction is I'm the Vice President of Education, Sales, and Marketing at Adventos Corporation. We're a public safety organization centered in Denver, Colorado.
Great. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
All right. Can we get someone else to quickly introduce? We'll just go down the line if you want to just pop on each person.
Hey everyone, this is Aslesha. I'm founder and president of Plano Intelligence Inc. We are an artificial intelligence company who's built a plug-and-play infrastructure platform that is able to do real-time data analysis from sensors. So, for example, we have a use case in which in places where, say, schools where firearms and weapons are not allowed, our artificial intelligence is able to detect through video feed when someone wields a gun and sends within a second of that happening a notification to nearby law enforcement.
Wow. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay. Who else would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, this is Magda Lagudis from Texas A&M.
Hi. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
Next person. Okay. We're going to go ahead and start with the questions. I apologize for the initial questions not being able to be formed. That might have sped up some of the this introduction process. I wanted to make sure I knew who was still on the line. But the first question that we have that we wanted to go through together and just kind of brainstorm. The larger conference session, they're talking right now about these three questions. The first one I want to pose to you is, what types of smart city projects can we imagine together? So depending on whether you're in a particular industry, if there are different platforms that you're seeing, or just challenges that communities of this size are facing, thought we just kind of begin taking some notes and jotting down some ideas together.
This is Brian. I'll jump in with
Thank you.
my 2 cents on the first idea that came to my head, and it's based on the 2 streets, the smart streets. I'm not sure exactly the title of that, but the Smart Streets Initiative for Nolanville. Since it would be more of a pedestrian gathering area, and my company is more focused on public safety initiatives, is maybe some type of drone project that may incorporate some of the AI algorithms that Ashleisha, I'm not sure if I said that right, mentioned, to see in a crowd if there's certain activity or something like that with drones, and then set up some type of communication to local law enforcement or other activity that might spur an emergency response, paramedic, for example, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, those are some great ideas.
Yeah, I think Brian, you got my name right, so that was awesome. I think Brian had a good, interesting idea there, where basically anywhere we have sensors in Nolanville, I know, so drones taking video is one of those things. I know during the presentation we were talking about sensors on near the riverbeds that were monitoring the whether there was flooding going on. Anywhere where those are in place, where we're getting those can be put towards deriving real-time intelligence to help in the city.
Great. Yeah. Are there any things that I mean, beyond some of the things that Nolanville mentioned, because those are, in having conversations with the city manager, those things kind of floated to the top of their list. What we're going to want to do in the next stages of this project are to have a more community engagement feedback process, where we're talking to the public about other issues in the community. And so we're hoping that other projects might be revealed through some of those discussions. I'm just curious, thinking outside of what Nolanville said, if there's other things that we can think about to kind of meld tech and smart city thinking into the community.
So this is Brian again, and what I hear across the nation is the need for more emphasis and focus on mental health issues. And I don't think that they had anything specifically towards mental health, but certainly not too far away in Temple, there's plenty of facilities there. So it being a smart city, might involve something around mental health, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I know that has been something that has come up in previous community meetings, particularly because it's close to Fort Hood and because of the need for more mental health services for military veterans. So that is something that they have discussed, as well as access to medical facilities. There is the facility, like you said, in Temple, but the public transit kind of options for folks that might not have a vehicle was something that has come up in need for healthcare access. So. Let me think of other things that the community members have talked about. As you can imagine, the community has limited, it really sits in the sort of urban rural context where they have a rural feel, but they're really in and among a larger metropolitan area. And so they have access to what a larger metro area would have access to, but at the same time, there's not a grocery store in the community and other sort of basic services, just to give you a little bit more context of the city.
That's interesting. What about the school system? Do they have full range of high school, et cetera?
They are part of the Killeen ISD school district, and so with Harker Heights, they have schools with the Killeen district. So they have 2 elementary schools in the city limits, but the middle school and high school are outside the city limits.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we can move on to the next question if you'd like. The second question is, which small to medium-sized cities in our target area are most likely to invite us in and embrace smart city visions? I don't know if your particular target area, would be something you'd willing to share. I'm curious, like, whether some of the technology that you have within your companies have been applied in this context before.
So this is Brian again, and I'll just say that to your first question, I am working with a city near Dallas called Duncanville. It's a smaller city, but it's probably may be considered a mid-sized city. I'm not sure, but I think they would be open to this kind of concept. Their city council seems to be fairly progressive. I'm not not totally sure, but to answer your first question, I might suggest them since I've been working with them recently. As far as technology, application with Smart City, we actually have a product called Smart City, and it just helps with collaborate. It's a collaboration tool so that all the different departments can interact, and if powered correctly, can be alerted to different things that they may need to take action on, much faster. For example, waste management, if there were a sensor in a trash can, for example, to show that that trash can is full, something like that. So we are doing some things like that. I did mention the drone a while ago. We just completed a drone project with the University of Denver, I should say, or Denver University. I'm not sure how they go about saying that. But again, that's more about school safety and public safety, to have that video feed in conjunction with other pieces of information that you can bounce off of, facial recognition or license plate reader technology, et cetera. So those are some of the projects we have been doing recently. I don't know if that's helpful to you, but just giving you something to go on.
Yeah, there's some good ideas. Good ideas to go off of. Yeah. Well, I'm curious then, as we think about the last question, what agreements, other partners, and resources are necessary for us to collaborate, or in general, what do we need to kind of bring all these pieces together for some innovative projects in communities? Would love to hear some of your thoughts and what you think might be needed for this.
Hi, this is Aslaisha. I think in terms of how to implement these kinds of solutions, what's always seemed very important in our experience is having end users feedback and stakeholder feedback. So a lot of these are very technology or seem very technology focused solutions, but really they're there to solve very human problems. So for example, if we're looking at school safety, and we would want to have the input of not only the technologists implementing, say, an AI algorithm that recognizes people trying to bring weapons into school, but also teachers, the police departments, emergency responders, all should be connected and have a say in how that's being implemented.
Certainly like that suggestion. And as far as any agreements, I think about non-disclosure documents that may need to be signed off, with various industry partners working together. I'm trying to think of other things, but I would start with that. But yeah. I like what you're saying.
Yeah, as for Aslaisha's comment on the getting the different end user feedback, that's definitely a big reason why we are going to have a large community engagement effort, and we would definitely want the feedback from industry partners on who you think the right folks are that need to be in the room to inform the projects, so that way we can have the smartest community engagement process possible. So that'll be important, and so thank you for saying that. And then as for the non-disclosure, this is something that we want industry partners, if there is a particular tech or product that you have that you want to test out in this community, or that students could take and mold and you know, rethink or develop further, that is definitely something that this project wants to facilitate. So if that is, if those things are coming to your mind, I think this is the right group to be talking with. And we would be in touch with Dr. Wei Lee, who's the PI on the project for those formal agreements and forms. So.
So this is Brian again. To add on to what you're saying, I would say that I have had the opportunity to visit with the city manager for Nolanville, Kara, and we have introduced the smart city communication platform as a means to help manage the various projects that the Endeavr classes may be taking on, as well as various projects within the city that need to be accomplished, whether that's code enforcement, et cetera. But I'd love to, be a part of the project to test out additional things that we have not thought about with that type of real-time, mobile-friendly, web-accessible platform that's also very secure. It's protected. It's what they call CJIS compliant when you think about the criminal justice information system. So I think there's a lot to explore with the Internet of Things, and how do you alert different departments within the city, and you need some type of platform for that. And then I did mention the drone project. I'd like to see what drone 2019.2 looks like, or 2020.2 looks like. So those are my 2 cents.
Great, thank you. Well, we have just a few minutes before the larger group is going to reconvene here. Are there any closing thoughts? And it sounds like, Brian, you're interested in participating in the project. I'm wondering if Ashleisha, I think I said that right, if that's also something that you have interest in and would like more information about.
Yeah, you got my name right, so thank you. And yeah, I would be interested in getting more information about and that project and how we can go forward on that.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'll go ahead and shift over so we can get it reconnected for the larger conference session. And what we're going to do next is the report outs. So we'll hear some of the conversations that the other groups were having before we wrap at 2:30 for the Relish campus tech tour. So if you need to do a quick bathroom break, now would be the time, and we'll meet back at 1:50.
All right, nice shot. Thank you.
This for now, as of now, is supposed to be so, you're saying you'd like someone to join your team to and where is it? Oh, so Houston. Okay. Is there something you can do like a business card or?
I don't have a business card, but I can or you have your phone number or it's like the main thing is
I will certainly distribute the information. We're not involved. I'll get Dr. Bates to know. If nothing else.
It was incorporate maybe you will have the same kind of tax.
Thank you very much. How was the really?
Yes, it's the gallery, and it's not the sea gallery, it's just a place.
Yeah, she has great. Oh, I did. I tried to write it down. We've had again, I'm just an ambassador. Great. Thank you. This last summer? Yeah, I worked under Chris, same manager. Yeah, and I don't know if you know Trent Roberts. Is there plans? Yeah.
I'm just in a while. Yeah.
It's mostly.
Okay. And that's how
I really work with him personally, but I work more with Kevin Lucio.
Yeah. Former fire chiefs, David Schroeder, he still floats around.
Yeah.
Yeah, David was there for I worked with him when I very first started.
Great. Yeah. But those games was definitely, they're doing a lot of great things there. And I feel like it's, since I have connections with Fred Robertson and Chris, you can probably learn something.
Yeah. So what is the top population that you consider staying tuned?
It's really vague. We don't have a specific number, but I feel like when we're getting towards like 50,000, it's probably going to count.
I'm just curious.
More for the students.
But
I know.
if we can get something like that that is willing to cooperate and work with the students, then that would be really, really helpful.
Population that we've got.
Like I said, probably 2/3 of ours are we try to get them to right courses.
Well, thank you guys for coming.
Part of the first year experience courses.
No, this is a little bit more than me.
There's a
College Station, that's only the students. So College Station has about 9. So
campus
say, how's Brian together?
It's more mixed reality.
all the pipes and everything. AR design guys. Yeah, exactly. So like we can overlay, changes to bring Texas.
I've seen the difference.
Real time.
Yeah.
Half an hour. I thought it was interesting for doing to be able to go. Where would you like these?
We will just kind of line them here. They have the. Yeah, we get our. Yeah.
Sorry.
Great to meet you.
Okay, hello? Hello? Oh. All right. I think we're gonna come back together. Are there any groups that had some good conversations that would be willing to kind of report out on some of the things you talked about? We're looking for things that stood out to you. You don't have to tell us everything you spoke about, but just a few things, and then we'll pass it off to the next group to kind of share what they've talked about. In class, nobody wants to. Who? Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
We had a good discussion, could have gone on for a long time. But just in the what, some areas we thought we could focus on are surveillance activities. So cover more ground with less people. And so not necessarily surveillance like law enforcement, but it could be that, but also like they mentioned for flooding, safety, wildlife, but also for infrastructure and safety. More connectivity, communications out to residents, make sure the services are doing something about it, but the residents are informed and know what's going on. And then focusing on community areas like a downtown, a city center, a walkable area for the small communities. So there's kind of a main hub of activity that's you see popping up in bigger cities. For the who, we thought it should be clustered. Cities that have limited jurisdictions, less bureaucracy to deal with, smaller ones with willing participants. And then we started getting into maybe cities with more visitors or working with not just City Hall, but the convention visitors bureaus of different areas so that you could work with tourists and visitors, not just infrastructure behind the scenes that nobody really notices. And then the how, bringing in the industry a lot at key times, not just at the end, but make sure it's profitable for them. That's their goal and the only reason they'd be interested in it. We had a couple industry people in our group, which was very helpful. Make sure you're always getting their feedback. And then once you have some successful use cases, use them from previous classes and say, this is how it has worked in the past, kind of pitch your idea to them, and then make sure it's tied to the city goals. So those were the things we covered in that time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Anyone else? What you want to build on what he spoke about or other conversations in your group? Are you coming down? No, come on down. I didn't know if you were leaving or what. You're like, I'm out of here.
Thanks. So our group focused on some projects of the what, long-term care facilities, as well as aging in place and working with that different generational group, not only on technology, but being user-friendly and providing them with products so that they could stay in their homes. Transportation, especially in small cities, they don't have it. They may not know they need it, but there are different opportunities. But in those areas, it was brought out that there would really need to be education and awareness because you need to make sure that the people receive it. If they don't believe in it, or if there's a resistance, then it won't be a successful project. Public safety is an area that we had an interest in, and bringing in projects such as building out GIS floor plans so that the first responders for active shooters and fires would have the information they needed to help save the people. Wearables in public safety, the smart vest or holsters, volunteer management in time of disaster where we go beyond our first responders, using AI for quality control and GIS, and prison overcrowding management and social media monitoring. We talked about how we can help with education and awareness and breaking down the barriers that really you have to go in and prove your case. Why is a smart endeavor worthwhile and why would the community buy into it? How break down the barriers of the individual residents consider tourists, and consider the politics. And right now, this early in the game, find willing participants instead of trying to fight through those politics. We talked about virtual reality tools to help people understand the projects that would be coming. So instead of just saying, we're bringing in a project with smart street signs, we could show them and they could walk through that. We want to appeal to current residents as well as potentially future residents in our projects and have projects that would appeal to both audiences, and really found that there should be an emphasis on public outreach and community outreach. We talked about the manufacturers that could partner with us, partnering with the local communities and the MPOs for transportation, but that there are several companies out there. And again, if you can show the value to them, they could help. And it doesn't have to start with the big stuff. We could start with the smaller devices that they could produce. And if they can build you a smart trash can and that works, think what they could do with a car. So really try to inch our way into gaining the trust of our community. And lastly, we talked about working with the communities. A simple interlocal agreement or memorandum of understanding would usually do the job.
Great. Those are some great ideas. Thank you. I think there in our online conversation, we talked a little bit about the community engagement pieces being really critical, understanding the end users. So having lots of end user conversations. And so I think we would want input from the industry partners on who those stakeholder groups are that we need to be engaging with for a smart engagement process. But other groups want to lift up? Okay. Nope, you're the one.
All right. All right. So I have my notes here on my phone. All right. So for the what, we talked first about developing plans that laid out the costs and benefits. Like Kara had spoke about earlier, really the benefits outweighed the costs quite a bit when it came to Nolan Fill, and really taking those projects that have already been done and being able to pitch these to the small and medium-sized cities. And then, other projects that may not have been taken up by other cities. We had Brian here in the front that had developed a plan for Detroit with a golf course that was in the middle of the city and that has been abandoned, or they shut it down. And so being able to take that and to make it into a green space in a small, smart area, putting in 5G, AV testing, etc. We had a cybersecurity person in our group that brought up that point, being able to take all of this Internet of Things that we're developing for Smart City Solutions and being able to make it secure. And then also the data that we're collecting through these solutions, being able to either make it open to the public or at least know who has access to the data and who owns it. So is it the city? Is it the private companies that are developing these different technologies? And then the last thing that I'll say on this is we really wanted to talk about sustainability, not a sustainability from a financial standpoint, but also from an environmental standpoint. So waste reduction, water management, transportation, resource optimization, and then taking that and including social inclusion, and then having economic develop in these areas. So for the who, we talked about KT MPO, the city of Gatesville, Bryan College Station, anything close to the university within, we had talked about a 2-hour radius, and the Rellis campus. And then for how, we had talked about different ways to get funding through capacity building, and then the different players that would be good for this. We had said Deloitte, Accenture, Dell, AT&T, and Verizon, Dallas Innovation Alliance, and also creating an accelerator type program for the students here and getting funding through that. Cities are starting to fund these accelerators for startups and essentially pitching these ideas as startups that can continue on after college.
Great. Thank you. Okay. We have any other groups that would like to share? Any other good conversations? Oh, okay.
Hi everyone. So in our group we talked items on how to avoid traffic during rush hour or not during rush hour. There was someone who said simply answer the phone. So some smaller communities simply have these issues of answering the phone, and this is a point where we should get into account the diversity of residents in the cities, if this even in terms of ages, backgrounds, and so forth and so on. Another person said leverage big data to change lifestyle, crowdsourcing data, create a digital twin, aging and dueling population, how to reimagine existing places in order to promote physical activity, mobility, nutrition, and social interaction and engagement. Another idea was about guiding. Now we're using our phones to guide. Another idea, a more futuristic idea, was more how to use augmented reality to guide people in the smart cities. Another idea was in terms of automation and jobs, how to deal with automation and how to enable people rather than having people losing their jobs from automation, technology for disabled people, and how to leverage landfills from industry in order to create something cost-effective and meaningful. We talked about rural areas as well as suburban communities, and how a big thing that came up was a platform that can be sustained in order for people to exchange ideas, piloting in closer communities to Texas A&M so that we can see how some of these things might play out later on. Another thing was on how basically that came out from other groups to make sure that people are aware of possible security and privacy concerns and how to deal and address those, as well as the technology adoption. And the last thing that came up was essentially on how to just, I guess, promote a more positive spirit on having people to howdy up. Yep.
That's great. Okay. Are there, I think we only had 4 present. Any other groups want to present? Speak out. Yes?
How many people participated online?
There were 13 online. We did have, I can report out. A lot of the things that they talked about have already kind of been addressed, mentioned earlier, but there was a lot of discussion on the drone technology, on how to use that for, safety with schools and police and that kind of thing, that real-time intelligence of what's going on in the community. They also mentioned, mental health issues has been something that could be, that's a needed area to think more smartly and smart tech for that. One of the folks on the line had a specific platform that they had developed called Smart City, and so he was talking about some of that technology where there's facial recognition for different things and utilized it around the country. So we had folks who were on the line from not just Texas, but from Colorado and some other parts of the country. And I mentioned the end user feedback as something that they were seen as critical. Other issues, though, wanting like non-disclosure for certain things and the use of some of their products. So, yeah. Okay. So I think at this point we can maybe talk about some next steps, Wei, if that's something you want to do. Are there any clarifying questions before we kind of wrap up this session? Okay, I am coming to you.
Thank you. So two questions that came up from our session that I think are relevant is one, it kept coming up how interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary this is. So I'm curious, in the current plans, what's the scope of all the different disciplines and classes that may be involved? And then also what came up was what to share information among the Endeavr groups because of how important that'll be for sharing all this information, continuing the conversation. So those are the two.
Okay, I'll pass it to Wei. He's the boss.
I'm the facilitator and the convener. I joined the conversation just now tremendously. So two questions from Tara about that. The first question is about the scope of our project. I think it's a good time to talk about our scope and also the next steps. So this is the year one of our 3-year Endeavr pilot project funded by the WMCAG Foundation. Our year one's aim is to develop that plug-and-play style curriculum. Now, next year, starting the fall, this year, right, and that will be year two. In year two, we're going to work with Nolanville, and there will be already confirmed that 5 disciplines, classes from 5 disciplines will join us. They're from urban planning, landscape architecture, visualization, computer science, as well as civil engineering. Then moving to year 3, I think we have a lot of possibilities. We could, based on Nolanville, and then create a smart region concept, which is not only Nolanville, but also Killeen, Temple, that metropolitan area. And we could open this project to many other communities who are willing to work with us. And we could open this up to many other educators of Texas A&M University from other disciplines, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, who want to work with us. Because it is a plug-and-play style curriculum, it is very flexible. So it serves as a convener, as a platform that enable the interdisciplinary collaboration among students from different disciplines. So this is, I think that basically answered the questions from the scope perspective, right? What's the second one? Platform, yeah. So I think this is, in terms of exchanging information, that our Endeavr team is using Slack to facilitate discussions within our team. And in terms of students, when they are working on projects collaboratively, they will use a Google Drive, they will use Slack, and Jamie is a strong supporter of the Basecamp. Basecamp, which is another software. So those are the 3 platforms we are thinking in terms of facilitating students' discussions in the long run. Yeah. Okay. Where's the clicker? Again, I feel very, very grateful for the very inspiring comments and those very candid, open discussions from everyone. And we've benefited a lot from people, from experts and colleagues from different disciplines, from different sectors of the industry. So I think this is a really valuable opportunity for us to discuss how we can design, implement, and benefit from student smart city projects. And that is the theme of today's discussion. I've learned a lot. I've written like more than 10 pages of comments, of notes just now by listening to you guys. I've gathered a lot of innovative ideas about how to make it happen, what partner to seek, and what communities should we reach out to. So I'm very, very grateful for this discussion. Back to the Endeavr project, Endeavr model. I've mentioned that plug and play many, many times, and you guys are sick and tired of me saying that. So, but I just want to say that it is about making connections for students from different disciplines, interdisciplinary learning, and making connections between the industry and the community through students' projects. Making connection is about making friends, and today is a great day. It is celebration of education. It's also a celebration, it's a starting point of our friendship and the partnership in the long run. So I really look forward to opportunities to collaborate with everyone here in this room and folks online here. And I think this is a great starting point because Endeavr model is very flexible. It is enabler. It can plug into different courses and make them Endeavr course. It will allow all, many types of student projects to take place, to benefit many types of communities, involving many types of industry. If your company, right, you can serve as an advisor from, represent your company, and our student will benefit tremendously from your experience and advice. And you can make your prototype or products available to students' projects, and our students will help to use the products and services and be able to generate useful feedback for you to improve the products, and then make your products receive more publicity. We are at a very important time of history, I would say, because last time when the major revolution took place that influenced how we build our cities was the 100 years ago when we started to use automobiles for our transportation. And now we are at another very important time of history where we are seeing so many changes, revolutionary changes taking place about how we travel, how we build our cities, how we communicate with each other. And it is a great time for us to innovate our education, to transform our higher education so that we'll be able to train students to become leaders that will become part of that this history and make this contribute to this revolution to take place. So many in the past, I've seen a lot of projects which are supposed to be interdisciplinary, but those are the pretend interdisciplinary. I don't see a lot of meaningful interactions among different disciplines. We want Endeavr to be the real interdisciplinary because we want to make the connection strong, and we want to make interactions among students, interactions between community, industry, and the students and faculty members meaningful and productive. So I would like to welcome everyone to join us and be part of this exciting history. Together, we'll be able to transform this nation's higher education and train future leaders of smart cities. Yeah, I want to thank everyone. And also, before we move on to introduce the tour of the Rallis campus, I want to express my sincere appreciation for all the student volunteers who have helped us to make this event happen. So can the students, can you please stand up and be recognized? Yeah. I think they're outside. They are still working very, very hard. And also the Dean's office staff from College of Engineering and College of Architecture. I appreciate their support. And I think this is very exciting, and I'm so happy I've made many friends today. Now let's talk about the next part of our today's program is a visit of the Rallis campus. So Rallis campus is a new campus of Texas A&M University system. It is basically the system would like Rallis campus to become a leading example of how a smart campus will be. We have two tours, Tour A and Tour B. So because the Rallis campus is very large and we can only allow each participant to join one of the two tours. So I will briefly introduce each tour and then we'll talk about the logistics. The Tour A is to visit the Center for Infrastructure Renewal. There are many exciting, fascinating labs there, including this one. This is the nation's largest facility to test the structure, bridges, roads in front of earthquake and other facilities. So this is really, you'll be blown away when you are there. And at the same time, they have many other exciting labs, such as smart grid labs there. So it's very exciting. And then this tour also includes a student work demonstration session. We'll have students presenting their posters and have a demonstration about what they have worked on the technology in the smart cities. So this is the tour A, and the location, this is the location. Everybody will have it in their folder as well. Tour B is to visit the Automated Fabrication and Design Lab, which belongs to the College of Architecture in the Raleigh campus. There's a lot of exciting equipment that will cut all kinds of beautiful and inspirational type of design on wood and on steel. I know that they have a water jet which can eat up itself if not careful. So this is very, very exciting. And also we will have Dr. Aliriza Talapur is waiting for us at the Raleigh campus. So those who join Tour B will have a chance to see the demonstration of autonomous vehicles technology by the students. So those are Tour A and the Tour B. And we have coupons, okay? Coupons here. So those are Tour A and Tour B. So you can only pick one. I will leave it here. Before you leave this room, please make sure to pick up one coupon, okay, for your tour. We have Aggie Spirit Bus, who will pick us up, will wait for us at 2:30 right outside the Rudder Tower. So I don't know, for those of you who are, who are new to Texas A&M campus, you might want to know what is the Aggie Spirit, okay? Basically, I cannot explain it fully, but I had an excellent example that a few days ago, Infinite Tucker, the star of Texas A&M University. So Infinite, that's the real name of this student. His name Infinite Tucker. So he is a 400-meter hurdler, and he won a gold medal by performing a Superman dive. And that video has gone viral worldwide. My mom called me, is that from your university? Yeah, that's the Aggie, it's Aggie Spirit. So, and I felt that Aggie, that Infinite Tucker is an excellent example to show how interdisciplinary learning is so important. Because if you are a runner, you want to win, right? Your discipline is running. That's not enough. It's another discipline that help him to win the medal. And that discipline is swimming. So another example of interdisciplinary learning. So we are right on time. So for those of you, next step, basically, we are going to establish a Google group so that all the participants online in person will have a chance to interact with each other. And we will follow up with you, and we'll schedule more individual meetings and to discuss more specific collaboration, and then we'll design the student projects together, and we'll move ahead and to work together in the next 2 years and beyond. Again, thank you very much for attending this summit. And my name is Wei Li. We are here to enable students to become future leaders of smart cities. Thank you very much.